Hello everyone, welcome to the Social Club for another one of our transfer specials. Omar joins me from Citizens TV to discuss Manchester City. I have to be very careful on my pronunciation of City because the Scouse accent tends to turn that into another word.
Couldn't imagine which.
Can't imagine what that would be. Omar, busy bees at Old Man City this summer.
Yeah, cheeky Begiristan, big window, getting the deals done. You know, the Wolf of Wythenshawe, really. I'd say Wolf of somewhere in East Manchester where we're based, but, you know, Wolf of Ashton Underline doesn't quite have the same ring to it.
Doesn't have the same ring now. Just getting stuck into it then, because as you say, I think Man City flew into this transfer window, basically windmilling, knocking transfer targets out left, right and centre. But before we get into that, I guess, going into this window, if you had to say what were the key issues in City's, whether it's first 11 or setup or squad, that absolutely needed to be addressed this window?
Fullbacks. I think all of them got released. I think they were all necessary departures, and that includes Zabaleta, as much as I love him. I mean, they all would have been faster with wheelchairs, to be perfectly honest. I mean, physically, they weren't capable of playing that system. And I think, in terms of quality, Kolarov and Clichy, the left-back area has been an area that we needed more quality in for years. Yeah. And I think Zabaleta has been kind of dragging that right-back area for a little while now. And the injuries he sustained in 2015-16, you can see a massive change from the last two seasons. It's been a completely different Pablo Zabaleta to the swashbuckling bandage around the head Zaba that we all know and love. Yeah. So the fullbacks are an area that really needed investment. Also, I think goalkeeper as well. Yeah, Claudio Bravo.
Well, yeah, the Claudio Bravo move, I think it's fair to say, and anyone who watched even a modicum of football last season could tell you the Claudio Bravo move was not the best.
No, but Asian Claudio, he's tapping up Sanchez for us, so he's doing something right. He's doing something right. Caballero going as well to Chelsea, so he freed up an option.
How do you feel about that? Because I know you're a big footy manager player, and there's very much, I always say there's a mentality I get from playing Champman and Footy Man is that when another top team wants one of your players, it makes you think, hang on a second, what are they seeing that I'm not?
Yeah, I think with Caballero, he's a solid backup keeper. He is, and he did a decent job. And to be fair, a lot of people don't seem to remember because he was bad. He was really bad in that first season. He came back and looked really good. Of course, remember that penalty shootout victory, League Cup final.
To remember that. That's fine. But carry on.
Yeah, but he's a solid backup goalkeeper.
Is it just that Claudio Bravo's going to take a step down the pecking order?
I think we'd assume so. Yeah, I think he'll improve next season, but I don't see him being the starter. I hope not. Anyway, I don't want another season of that. I suffered enough.
I thought he was hilarious. Needless to say, but in terms of then, what do you know about the guys who've come in so far? So it's Ederson, isn't it? Who's the goalkeeper who's brought in? I literally heard nothing about this lad.
Saw him on FIFA a couple of times. Saw him play for Benfica against Dortmund. That was about it, really. But he's won the Portuguese league, so he can't be that bad, can he?
Lazar Markovic has won the Portuguese league, I think, just to clarify that. But yeah, no, it's definitely a position that needed to be addressed, and getting someone a bit. I'm right, he's a bit younger, isn't he?
Yeah, he's 23. And also, you mentioned Football Manager. I did know him a bit from my Sporting Lisbon save as well. So yeah, revolutionising Portuguese football one game at a time.
I'm sure. So Bernardo Silva as well was another early bit of business. Did the City need more pacey, tricky, wide men? Surely you've got a few options in that regard, or is he just an upgrade on Nolito?
Nolito.
What happened to him? I genuinely thought Nolito was dead. He's just moved to Sevilla, and I was like, oh, he's alive! Yeah, I thought he was dead, and he's not.
Yeah, best thing he did was that image of Delito that you might have seen on Twitter. Try not to headbutt anyone on your way out, but yeah. Yeah, if only he'd have been on the pitch when we played Chelsea and there was a big scrap, it would have made my season to see him headbutt Diego Costa. But yeah, he'd probably still be suspended now. Yeah. But
so is that? I mean, you're saying that's maybe what it is. Obviously, Nasri, is Nasri gone?
No, he's still at the club. He was on loan at Sevilla. That looked like it was going really well. Seeing highlights and highlights, they do show the best of the player. But he looked some of him at his best at Sevilla. He was running the show. But it all sort of went wrong after the whole drip doctor thing, and
Defo proper doctor. Yeah. Defo a doctor. Defo doesn't offer other services. Who knows? Maybe they do. We move on. So Nasri's going to be. Do you think Nasri's going to be back in contention this season, or is it just a matter of time before he's shown the door permanently? Possibly.
I'm probably 60-40 on him going out. He's been included in the US tour. They've flown out today. Some players like Jason Denae is there, Eliakim Mangala as well. So potentially there is a route back for a couple of them. Mm-hmm. Of course, there's Wilfred Bonney who's been seen at the CFA today, and Joe Hart is on a plane somewhere. Well, according to his Instagram, he was last night anyway. Looks like he's going to go to West Ham.
Probably landed, or it's it's very short on fuel at this point, and someone should probably advise the pilot to make a landing. Who's Douglas Luiz?
No idea.
No idea. 10 million quid. No idea.
Yeah. I'm not going to pretend. I'm not one of those Chelsea fans on. I remember TalkSport. Winding you up.
Yeah.
Stu Backer.
Absolutely.
I'm not about that.
Kyle Walker then, £50 million for a fullback. As you say, if there's an area of the team that absolutely needed attention this summer, it's that. First and foremost, I guess 50 million quid for Kyle Walker, no matter which way you slice it, is a lot of dough.
Yeah. To be honest, well, it's not my money. In this modern world of football, the inflation's inflations are the biggest it's ever been. Yeah, football inflation is the biggest it's ever been. So essentially, people talking about it's an overpayment and whatnot. Yeah, it's an overpayment. Fair enough. Kyle Walker's £50 million. You're looking at Bonucci, who I rate as the best centre back in the world, is going for 40 million. Different circumstances, but at the end of the day, Spurs weren't going to budge. They weren't going to accept like 35 million or 40 million, which is closer to what he's worth. So we can afford it. May as well cut the crap and just pay it. So I give credit to Cheeky for that. And some people are saying, well, why? He's overpaid on the player, which I do agree. But like I said, Spurs weren't going to budge. He got the deal done. Yeah. What was it? It was within 2 days. Within 48 hours, we got the deal done. It was signed, sealed, and delivered. So I think he deserves credit for that. Yeah,
I think that's the thing about Walker. That will draw attention. And I did a video on this with James Clark about whether 50 million is the new 20 million pound transfer. And it seems a lot, but what we were kind of coming to is that in terms of the physicality is exactly what you guys were lacking in fullback positions. To say Zabaleta fell to pieces, Clichy, I genuinely don't know what happened to Clichy, but similarly, back
channel mascot, Paul. Gail fucking Clichy.
Yeah.
As for you viewers, the Citizens TV viewers, you know what I'm talking
All
about.
Of you.
The legendary quotes, my legendary live stream quotes.
Absolutely. But yeah, again, back at the Sanya, Collar, again, these are not guys who've got tons of pace with incredible engines. It's something you can say about Kyle Walker. At least he's not gonna fall to bits getting up and down the line. So in that regards, you've got and sorted a situation that needed to be sorted, I guess.
Yeah, Kyle Walker will be first choice. I would like Pablo Maffeo to be our backup. I'm pretty sure he hasn't gone on loan to Girona again. He's been on loan there last season. I think he got loan there in the season before last in 2015-16. A lot of buzz around him. He's highly rated. He's looked very good for our EDS. So it'd be nice to see him given a chance.
Yeah.
There's areas of the squad that I think some of our EDS could do a job. I'm looking at Tosin Adarabioyo as a fourth choice centre back. I'm looking at Angelino as a backup left back in the event that we get Benjamin Mendy or Ryan Bertrand. Well, we're going to go out and buy a left back.
Yeah. Well, it actually looks like let's talk Benjamin Mendy actually, because that looks pretty likely at this point. It's another big transfer fee, but again, it's another guy who's got the legs to get up and down. He can support the attack. He can defend. We know he's more of a known quantity because of the season that Monaco have had as well. I mean, for you get that sorted. Is that your fullback positions absolutely boxed off?
I'd like to think so, yeah. I'd like to think that we have the backup options in Angelino and then Pablo Maffeo. I think they can do a job. They don't have to be world class. Mm-hmm. They can do a job, in my opinion. At the end of the day, they're not going to play week in, week out. They'll play out like a handful of league games, probably games in the Cup, like League Cup, maybe 1 or 2 games in the Champions League, something like that, as like maybe a sub appearance and then maybe another appearance if like it's a nothing game.
Yeah.
And you add to the skill set that Mendy's got, he can also tweet incredibly cryptically, which is not annoying at all.
Perfect for the transfer window. Nothing like getting people hot under the collar. One thing I want to discuss before we get on to the questions that people have sent in. Alexis Sanchez brings a smile to the face. I can see it. It looks... Yeah. Well, it's not going away. He's come out whilst out with Chile, apparently. He said that he's made his mind up. He wants to play Champions League football.
There was like a snippet of a quote.
If he wants that, he's going to have to wait 12 months at least at Arsenal, isn't he?
I mean, he said he's going to honour his contract at Arsenal, and to be honest, we don't need him.
Since when is that an issue? You know, going out and getting someone like Alexis Sanchez, I don't think it's necessarily what it does. It's as much about what it does to your team as what it says to the rest of the league. You know, it says to them, look, we're Man City and we mean business, I think.
Well, Man City will buy who we want. Well, we don't need Alexis Sanchez, but when there's a chance to sign Alexis Sanchez, a world-class player, you don't pass it up. So we don't need him. I won't be like completely devastated if we don't get him, but look, if we do get him, I mean, the reactions from Arsenal fans will make it worth it completely, not mentioning anyone specifically.
No, there's no need. Everyone knows who they are, to be perfectly honest, and you're probably watching right now, or it's been tweeted to you. No, it is though, and you know, for me, again, it's a potential moment where a signing like that, it doesn't shut the door on Arsenal. It doesn't, because there's a lot of games to be played and a lot of twists and turns in a season that's nowhere even near starting. But again, it's another one of those messages that says City are here and Arsenal here, and that's something that mentally Arsenal would have to deal with. Again, another example of losing one of the better players to a rival.
I think the ball's in Sanchez's court, really. If he wants to stay at Arsenal, it's completely his decision. If he wants to, he's going to have to really, really dig his heels in if he's going to move towards, because Arsenal, of course, they're not going to charge like 20p for him. You know, they're not going to charge that. They're not going to do a reverse West Ham and charge like nothing instead of bidding nothing.
Can I advise like a 70 million plus £1 offer? That goes down well. Always good. Always good to try that. Let's get stuck into some of your questions then. We asked you at Ball Street on Twitter, as ever. Let's get in then. Blake Newton 5. What do you think to the Aguero links to Chelsea?
Bullshit.
Absolute bullshit.
Bullshit, exactly, man. It's a stupid story. I mean, look, he's been linked with moves in the past. Real Madrid. He's been linked with moves to Paris Saint-Germain. I'm not buying into it. I mean, it's just it amuses me. Really, it amuses me. I mean, don't get me wrong. Chelsea is it'd be a good move for a lot of players in world football. But why would you want to play for one team in blue? You can play for the best team that play in blue. But that's definitely going to endear me to Chelsea fans, isn't it?
Absolutely. It does seem strange. I just, again, going back to what we said earlier, I don't see why you would look to furnish a team that is your opposition or a rival with a player who maybe Aguero's not going to be fit nailed on first choice next season, and that would put it on Aguero maybe a touch. Yeah. But the guy, if he plays, he's still at his worst, he's a 1 and 2 centre forward at his worst, and that's when he has mass injuries during the season as well. He's going to score goals, and he can still score goals in this league. It would be similar to the Arsenal selling Sanchez to you. It would almost be equally as foolish to let Aguero go to a team that already finished above you last season.
I think probably more so. Yeah. And look, we haven't sold since we've gotten back up there in football. We haven't sold the top.
Back up there.
Since
you've gotten up there.
All right. Yeah, you know what? We're late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah, absolutely.
Champions of England, 1968.
Absolutely.
Now,
Did you enjoy that season? Yeah. Okay,
yeah, of course. I was living it up there. Yeah, I'm really 60, everyone. I just look young, moisturised.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we haven't sold a top player to a rival, and if you think we're going to start now, then you are stupid.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
We're not going to do that now.
So, CTIDTV, your mate. Yeah, Omar, what is your opinion on the window as a whole? If we signed Mendy and Alexis, do you think anything else needs adding desperately? So in a world where you've added Mendy and Alexis Sanchez, is that business done for City if you were to get them both across the line?
Yeah, I'd say so.
What about centre half? Very strongly linked to Van Dijk at the start of the window.
I think we're not going to go over a certain amount for Van Dijk, and I think that will probably enable you to get him if you want. So much for no longer pursuing your interest in Virgil van Dijk.
Say no.
But I think you got Tosin Adarabioyo. I mentioned him before. I think he can do a job as a fourth choice centre back. You've potentially got Mangala as well, who I remember when it was announced we were getting Pep Guardiola as the manager. I thought he was going to turn Mangala into one of the I thought he was going to turn him into a really genuinely quality centre-back, because I see a lot of parallels between Mangala to Jerome Boateng pre-Pep Guardiola, both guys who are very physically, pretty much perfect physical specimens, fast, strong, physical, just lacks the finer points of his technical game. Just needs his technical game, tuning up, essentially, which is what Pep would do.
Would you see him being a key component of the defence this season, or is he very much a third choice?
Yeah, I think he'd be a backup, to be honest. Yeah, I think Company. I hope I'm not jinxing this, but I've said it a couple of times. He does look a lot better than he has, and I think the fact that Pep gave him a big, a prolonged time off, he allowed him to really properly recuperate. And Pellegrini never did that, especially like in his last season. He didn't do that at all with Company. Pep gave him the time off, and we played 3 games in a week, and Company played every minute of all of them, and he looked perfectly fine. The semi-final against Arsenal, when players like Sane and Sterling were out on their feet on like 75 minutes, Company was fine throughout the entire 120. In terms of our players, look, probably one of in terms of conditioning, he looked probably the best out of our players on the pitch.
Well, yeah,
and of course you got John Stones, who I think is probably, along with Sterling, I think he's Pep's favourite at the club.
Okay, good question coming in then. Oh, yeah, Fergus O'Connor said it was feed the yak 22, the 22nd person who wanted to feed the yak. What Man City player will be a fantasy football gem this season?
Fantasy football gem. I think De Bruyne. Well, De Bruyne. He's
going to be one of the most expensive players.
He's going to be one of the most expensive players. Yeah, he does get you numbers though.
It's not going to be.
Honestly, I'm a bit.
Gabriel Jesus, I guess. I mean, is he a known quantity as well? I'd be interested to check out the Bernardo Silva, if I'm honest.
Yeah,
I think
Bernardo Silva.
He looks to me very much like planning ahead for David Silva's legs falling off, which can't be too far away, but tremendous footballer.
Well, the hair's gone,
and the Silva thing as well. You don't even have to change too much. Just give him his number and push him out the door eventually. He's got that close control. He's got that skill. Maybe and Silva as well started as a winger, didn't he? And drifted more. Yeah,
Bernardo Silva can obviously occupy that false 8 role. And we were quite lucky in a certain regard last season, the fact that Silva and De Bruyne, they didn't have any serious injuries last season, because we were just one serious injury to either of them away from having basically one creative outlet in those guys in terms of playmakers, and then obviously you've got to rotate at some point. So we needed depth for them, and I do expect Bernardo Silva. He's not going to sit on the bench every game. I do expect him to play a decent enough amount of games. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm excited about Bernardo Silva. He looked really good when we played them at the Etihad as well, and away in Monaco as well.
Absolutely. And then, lastly, I guess we've not really had time to touch on this, but Dragomir Vadarov says, what do City fans make of the Joe Hart situation? It looks very much like West Ham could be his next destination.
Yeah, well, there's been a lot of love between City fans and West Ham fans on social media. It split the fan base. It's starting to split the fan base. I think a lot of people have come to terms with it now. It's very, very difficult to accept, because Joe Hart there's 3 guys really, pre-takeover that have, they really do embody the spirit of the club, and that would be Hart, Zabaleta and Company, and now there's only really going to be one left in Company. Yeah. So it has sort of split the fan base. I think the general consensus now is that people have started to realise maybe, it's probably the best thing for the club. Yeah. Joe Hart, I think, is a good goalkeeper. I'm not sure if he's at that top level though. Anymore. I think he was, or at least touching that at one point, but I feel like it's probably the best interest for the club to probably move him on. There was definitely clash personalities, in my opinion. I think that was the biggest thing. And I think the saddest part of it is, I mean, I was running through it the other day on a live stream. What genuinely good clubs wanted him? I mean, no disrespect to West Ham, but there was no club in the top half that were in for a keeper. Yeah. No club that finished in the top half. I mean, you had to go. I think West Ham were like one of the highest.
Well, Everton chose to buy Pickford instead of Hart.
And I don't blame Everton for buying Pickford over Hart. You go for youth. Longevity. You've got a guy who's already shown he's got talent. You can refine that, and obviously it gives you a longer.
Yeah, I think the Joe Hart thing was made easier by the fact that he didn't go and have a stellar season for Torino. I think if he'd gone and had a great season, it would have been easy to come back and go, whoa, Pep, what are you doing? Look, here's a great example of what you've cocked up. But I just think that you also, I guess, kind of got a bit more of a sense of, even though Bravo didn't do it well, what was expected, I guess. You know, what you start to sense what he's looking for in a goalkeeper, and you feel sorry for Joe Hart, I guess, because as you say, he's been there for so long. You know, the amount of Golden Gloves the guy picked up as a City goalkeeper,
still the joint most in Premier League history.
Shouldn't be forgotten. But I mean, I guess you'd wish him all the best moving to West Ham.
Absolutely. I mean, Joe Hart was. When I was young, Joe Hart was a massive part of me supporting Manchester City. He was basically my idol for years. You know, he's been a fixture as the goalkeeper for years. So it's weird seeing him leave, and it's quite sad seeing him struggling at Torino, because we've been used to him making these great saves. Yeah, making errors every now and then. Yeah. But you know, aside from when he had that run of games in 2013-14, he's never had a really error-stricken sort of season or run of games. So seeing him struggle at Torino is sad, but I think it's definitely his best interest. We want to see him playing regularly. He's not going to get that here. Yeah. So
World Cup year as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Big year for him. Yeah, absolutely.
And I think there's a genuine risk of him getting dropped by Southgate as well.
Fantastic. Not for him, potentially. I don't know, that ended poorly for Joe Hart. But anyway, let us know. Omar, thanks very much. An absolute pleasure to have you here. If you want to get more from Omar and more daily, weekly, whatever, updates on the best team in blue. The
best team in the land and all the world. As the chant goes.
As the chant goes. As everyone else chants go, by far the greatest team the world's ever seen. They can't all be, Omar. Not every team can be. Anyway, subscribe to Citizens TV by clicking the icon on the screen right there. If you want more Social Club, you can watch it on the channel right now. And the Fan League Cup is underway. It's been getting teased for weeks. No more teasers. Just happy endings, potentially for one or two teams. Well, one, because it's a cup tournament. Click, watch the Fan League, see how it's going down. Ta-da.